Imagine deciding to build your own computer. You have no computer store, no online parts supplier, no ready-made motherboard, and the most important chip in the design may not be available anywhere in your city. So you study a wiring diagram in a magazine, search factories and electronics markets for components, make your own circuit board, build a keyboard from individual switches, and connect the finished machine to the family television. This was how some Soviet hobbyists built computers from almost nothing. Let us imagine a young electronics enthusiast named Alexei in the late 1980s. Alexei has seen computers at school or work. They are impressive machines, but they are not usually sitting inside ordinary apartments. A factory-built home computer can cost several months of an average salary. Assuming one is available at all, Alexei cannot afford one. So he decides to build his own. His instructions come from a magazine called Radio. For decades, Soviet electronics enthusiasts have used magazines like this to build radios, amplifiers, testing equipment, and other homemade devices. Now the magazine is publishing something far more ambitious, a complete personal computer. One of the best-known designs is called the Radio 86 RK. The letters RK mean Radio Amateur's Computer. The magazine provides diagrams, circuit board layouts, instructions, firmware listings, and explanations of how the machine works. In theory, Alexei simply follows the directions. In practice, this is like receiving instructions for a house and then being told to manufacture several of the bricks yourself. The Radio 86 RK uses fewer than 30 main computer chips, which is relatively simple compared with an earlier Soviet design called the Micro 80. That machine required roughly 200 integrated circuits and was too complicated for most hobbyists to complete. The newer design is supposed to make home computer construction realistic. But simple does not mean easy. Alexei's first challenge is finding the processor. The computer uses a Soviet microprocessor called the KR580VM80A. It is compatible with the architecture of the American Intel 8080. Soviet factories manufacture these chips, but that does not mean Alexei can walk into a shop and buy one. Electronic components are often produced for industry, military equipment, research institutes, or government organizations. Only limited quantities reach normal retail stores. Alexei begins asking friends. One friend works at a factory. Another studies engineering. Someone knows a technician who may have spare memory chips. A coworker offers a processor that has already been removed from another machine. Nobody knows whether it works. Alexei buys it anyway. The most difficult component may be the video controller chip. It is scarce enough that some hobbyists redesign part of the computer to replace it with a larger collection of more common chips. The replacement circuit is more complicated, but a complicated part you can find is better than a simple part that does not exist. Alexei slowly collects resistors, capacitors, connectors, memory chips, and logic circuits. They do not all arrive at once. Some come from stores. Some come from friends. Some are removed from old equipment. Some may have originally belonged to a factory that is probably still looking for them. After months of searching, Alexei has what appears to be a complete set. Now he needs a circuit board. There is no finished motherboard waiting in a box. He transfers the printed layout onto a copper-covered board. The unwanted copper must be removed, leaving thin electrical paths behind. Then he drills dozens of tiny holes by hand. If one track is damaged, he repairs it with wire. If two tracks accidentally touch, the computer may behave unpredictably or not behave at all. Alexei begins soldering one chip, then another. The room fills with the smell of hot metal and flux. His table disappears beneath wires, tools, diagrams, and small components that become invisible the moment they fall onto the floor. After several evenings, the board is finished. It looks like a computer. This does not mean it is a computer. The machine still needs firmware. Base instructions must be written into memory chips called ROM chips. Programming these chips requires special equipment. Alexei may borrow a programmer from a workplace laboratory, ask another hobbyist for help, or build yet another device before he can finish the first device. Early computer programs are sometimes printed in magazines as long groups of hexadecimal numbers. Alexei must type them into the computer manually. One wrong character can break the program. To help locate mistakes, The magazine provides checksums. Alexei enters hundreds of numbers, checks the total, discovers an error, and starts searching. This is software installation in the Soviet Union. There is no progress bar, there is only suspicion. The computer also needs a keyboard. Alexei might use individual switches mounted beneath homemade keys. Some builders reuse keys from calculators, terminals, or other electronic equipment. The result may not look elegant. Several keys may be different colors. The spacebar may originally have served a completely different machine, but pressing a key produces a letter on the screen, which makes it beautiful. For a display, the Radio 86RK can use a normal household television. There is another problem. Many Soviet televisions do not include the correct video input. So Alexei opens the family television and modifies its electronics. This activity is performed very carefully, especially because the television belongs to the entire family. If the modification fails, Alexei will not only have no computer, he may also eliminate the evening news. Data is stored using an ordinary cassette recorder. Programs become sounds recorded onto magnetic tape. To load one, Alexei connects the cassette player, adjusts the volume, presses play, and waits while electronic noise fills the room. If the volume is too low, the program fails. If it is too high, the program fails. If the cassette is damaged, the program fails. If someone speaks near the recorder at the wrong moment, Alexei becomes convinced that this is why the program failed. Eventually, the screen displays a prompt. The machine is alive. It may have only 16 or 32 kilobytes of memory. The display is mostly text. The processor runs at less than 2 MHz. A modern device would consider this less computing power than it needs to display the time. But Alexei did not buy this computer. He built it. He understands every wire, every repair, and every strange behavior. He can write programs in BASIC. He can create simple games. He can experiment with electronics. He can exchange software with other enthusiasts using cassette tapes. And when something stops working, which it eventually will, he already knows the person responsible for building it. By the end of the 1980s, Soviet computer building changes again. Designs compatible with the British ZX Spectrum become popular. Hobbyists and small cooperatives produce numerous unofficial versions. Some use custom circuit boards, others are assembled in workshops, schools, factories, or apartments. Because the designs are copied and modified, no two machines are guaranteed to be exactly alike. One Spectrum clone may run a game perfectly. Another may display strange colors. A third may require the owner to press the case in one particular corner. Western computer games spread through copied cassette tapes. Official copyright protection is not the hobbyist's greatest concern. Getting the program to load is. Computer clubs begin appearing. Teenagers exchange games and technical information. They learn programming, repair skills, and electronics because owning a computer often requires understanding how it works. The shortages make everything harder, but they also create a culture in which users are not only consumers, they are builders, repair technicians, programmers, and occasionally detectives trying to discover why the screen has suddenly turned black. Soviet hobbyists did not literally create computers from nothing. They had magazine designs, Soviet-made processors, industrial components, televisions, cassette recorders, and a strong electronics culture. But they often lacked the one thing modern buyers take for granted, a complete computer ready to use. So they created the missing pieces themselves. They hunted for chips, etched boards, soldered connections, modified televisions, typed programs from printed pages, and shared whatever they learned with the next person attempting the same impossible project. For most people, turning on a computer was the beginning. For a Soviet hobbyist, turning it on successfully was already the final level. Thanks for watching, comrades. If you enjoyed this look at everyday life in the Soviet Union, like the video and subscribe for more stories from behind the Iron Curtain. Until next time.